right, Steve. Just so you know, you're all set whenever you're ready to begin.
And well, there's Tony. Looks like we're.
Steve, you're I didn't even know that you were holding this meeting. Sorry.
You didn't know we were holding the.
I didn't know that you were the chair of, this is finance, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, Rennie had to go do some things down in the city. So
I didn't even see a communication about that. Sorry.
I didn't either.
I can tell you right now, Jeffrey's not going to be here, so I don't know who else is on the finance.
Michelle, and we're cutting it pretty close. We got myself, Don, you, and
So that's
Michelle. So we
only
only
need three.
We only need three. Yeah.
Right.
Ed.
But I know Jeffrey had put a communication that he wasn't going to be here. I didn't hear. I didn't see anything about Michelle. And I didn't even know about Rennie, that you're covering for Rennie. So
yeah. All right, so we're good. We got a quorum anyway. A lot of the things on the agenda are just for discussion.
No, a lot of things on the agenda are for passing.
There's a.
I see.
I looked at this agenda. Boy, it looked pretty full, but several of them are just discussion. So I think we should be able to move along pretty quickly. Oh, John is here. Okay. Oh, and Michelle is here. Okay. All right. Elisa, I think we're ready to roll. Lisa, are you there?
Yep, I'm all set. You're live streaming and you're ready to go.
Okay. I think we are ready to go. Let me know when we're rolling.
You're rolling.
Okay. All right. The time is 6:32. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November meeting of the Finance Committee. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Tonight I'll be filling in for regular chair Reynolds Scott Childress, who is unable to make it tonight. So I will do my best to fill in for his large shoes. We have a pretty lengthy agenda. Hopefully we'll move through it pretty quickly. We have a number of people here that will be taking part in the meeting. As far as the committee, we have myself here, Don Tollerman, Tony Davis, Michelle Hirsch. As I said, Rennie is not here. We also have John Toohey, the controller. Mike Bonts is here from the Kingston Police Department, our Corporation Counsel, Barbara Graves Poller, and our city engineer, John Schulteis, is here. I hope I did not miss anybody. Oh, Ed, no, I'm sorry, Ed, you're the first one I see here, and I forgot you. Ed Norman from DPW. So we'll call the meeting to order, and without further ado, we will get to our first agenda item, which is a budget transfer for the wastewater treatment plant.
Steve,
Yep.
Steve, the way we work with finance is that we have John Toohey start off to give us his review of what's
Okay.
going on. And then we
Yeah.
go into it. Then we go to the agenda.
All right, no problem. Yes, you're right. Somehow that never makes it to the agenda. All right, so we will back up just a little bit. All right, John, you ready to roll? John Toohey? You have to unmute. There we go. Can't hear you. Can you hear us, John? All right.
There was that picture of Larry Bird in the back that's messing it up.
And I'm not sure what the problem is. Shows you as unmuted.
They have to come back to him.
Yeah, you can call in. Maybe we'll. John, do you mind if we start the agenda? And then we'll come back to you? Is that good? All right, so we'll revert back to the original number one, which is the budget transfer for wastewater treatment. Are you doing that, Ed? I don't see Alan here.
Yeah, I was told that Alan would be here by Alan. So,
I saw him yesterday. He said he was going to be here, but.
I mean, I could speak a little bit about it. I have some knowledge of what they're doing. So if you want me to just.
Okay, well, why don't you start the ball rolling? If we have questions you can't answer, then I guess we'll have to backpedal a little bit. So.
Okay, as far as I know, it was just a budget transfer to cover a shortfall from one line to another. I think they were taking it out of chemicals and putting it into machinery. I think he had an over, his budget was a little fat in the chemicals. They didn't use quite so much this year, and they were a little lacking in the other line items. So they just want to transfer that over to cover some costs of some equipment.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it says on the committee report, chemical materials and supplies, transfer from that account to equipment maintenance for some equipment maintenance. I'm not sure what that equipment might be, but it's just a transfer. I mean, there's no financial impact here.
Right,
Just
right. It's zero impact.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let me read does anybody have any questions? I mean, it's pretty standard. All right, let me read the committee report. Okay, this is a transfer, $10,000 from account G 188130-14-5484, transfer to G 188130-14-5474. Do I have a motion? Michelle? Second, Tony? Okay, any further questions before I call for a vote? Everybody good? All right, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, our second item, Ed Norman again. Unpaid invoices from DPW. We don't take any action on that, right? This is just for
I
Yeah, Steve, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't see you anymore.
Okay. I see myself on there. So earlier today, Steve, just a little while ago, an hour or two ago, I emailed you several committee reports that I didn't see in a packet. The committee report for this item would include re-levying these unpaid invoices on the 2022 tax roll. It's going to be a similar action that you'll have to take on item number 13, which is the building department unpaid invoices.
Okay. I don't have a, did you say you sent a committee report? Because I don't have one.
Yes, yeah, I emailed, I went through and I saw what we were missing in terms of committee reports in the packet. So I did email them over to you.
Okay, I didn't see that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you when.
Do you have the committee report there?
I do. Yeah, I'm looking through. I'm not sure. I have them. Let me send them to you right now. You want me to read it to you?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, I haven't been on in a while. Maybe it might be there.
No, I sent a few things out. Steve, I'm sorry. I may not have sent them out. I thought I had, but I just did them a couple hours ago.
Okay.
So this committee report will read as follows. Request authorization to re-levy unpaid invoices totaling $23,187 onto the city's 2022 tax bills.
Okay,
I'm just going to email you the rest of these so you have them. My apologies.
okay. I mean, this is something standard we do every year, right?
Correct. Yeah, we do this every year. We re-levy the building, we re-levy DPW. You will get a request for water sewer re-levies. That hasn't happened yet, but that'll be forthcoming from the water department. So yeah, we do this every single year.
Okay. Tony?
John, can you repeat that amount, please?
Sure. 23,187.
All right, John, can you do me if can you read the committee report again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Request authorization to re-levy unpaid invoices totaling $23,187 onto the city's 2022 tax bills.
Property tax bills, right?
Yes, property tax bills.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this for John? As John said, we do this every year at this time. Michelle?
Hi, John. I was just curious what our levies look like this year compared to last year, and if is it like about average, or is there more hardship?
Yeah, I didn't compare it. It's definitely not heavy. I can try to pull up last year's.
You can let me know later.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I didn't know stuff to do it, so thank you.
Yeah, but the amount doesn't stand out to me as being exceptionally large.
Okay.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion? Tony, motion. Second, Michelle. Okay, before I call for vote, any further questions to John? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate that.
And what I see, just looking real quick, without going to the resolution, my notes internally were 25,718 last year.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Do we want John to go now since he's here and loud?
You can hear me and you can see me, hopefully. You let me know, Steve.
Okay. Now we can hear you well now, John. What happened?
Good. I don't know. I tried to join through phone and that wasn't taking. So sometimes my computer audio doesn't work great. I think it's user error on my end, but I am in the office. So I just called in and did everything through the computer. So it seems to be working better now.
Okay.
So in any event, I emailed everyone a updated finance report. Not a lot has changed since the last month. We have updated the unassigned fund balance, the fund balance information on the bottom of the narrative finance committee update to give you the 2020 numbers. 2021 numbers will be wrapped up in the spring by May 1st. We'll have the 2021 figures. On a year-to-date basis, I've given you an update for numbers through September, which is 75% of the year. At this point, most of the departments are still doing a very good job of staying within budget. Our major expense categories are tracking well below budget. The large ones being regular pay, hospital medical insurance. I've given you a list. You can go through and see what's there. Overtime pay is tracking a little bit high citywide. Part of that is because of the shortfalls that we've had in regular pay and backfilling positions. So existing employees are spending more time on the job. Some other categories, vehicle fuel, you're starting to see the impacts of the current inflationary period that we're in right now. Along with that, the sales tax revenue continues to track exceptionally strong. We are now nearly just short of $2.7 million over the prior year figure for sales tax at this point in the year. In the narrative, I've given you those figures, but I'll do it again here. We are at just over $13.5 million of sales tax collected for the year. That is 24.85% over prior year. At this time last year, we were at just over 10.8 million. So we're 13.5, we're 10.8 last year. And for comparison purposes, looking at pre-COVID numbers, which in this world, we kind of have to look at, try to normalize what these numbers would look like. At this time in 2019, we're at 11,159,000, so just short of 11.2 million. So we're over $2.3 million higher than we were 2 years ago. So, certainly we're seeing the impacts of the, additional consumer spending and inflation right now with sales tax. So I'll continue to update you. There's 8 more collections till the end of the year, till the end of the 2021 sales tax figures are final. There's one substantial collection left that was a large variance from the prior year back in 2020. So that'll give us more information. But at this point, everything's been pretty consistent, quite frankly, with the sales tax. I mean, we've been tracking over 20% over the prior year since back in May. If you look at the sales tax reports, the individual payment differences have all been highly favorable. I mean, there's only one since early in the year that was under 10% over the prior year, right? So sales tax is strong. Expenses are overall strong as well in terms of departments watching the bottom line. I do know we'll have a couple departments will probably come to contingency at the end of the year. I don't expect a great deal. You'll see later in the meeting tonight, I put in a transfer to replenish some of that contingency that I expect the departments will need at the end of the year. But I mean, overall, I do think you'll see a significant underspending this year when you compare actual expenditures to the modified budget. So any questions?
Yeah, John, have you noticed, sorry, Don. Don, why don't you go ahead? You raised your hand, I didn't. Unmute, please.
I know, John, it's anecdotal, but, the buy local, chant that you hear from government, everybody, do you think that's part of, are people spending more locally, or is it just they're spending more, period?
I think it's a combination of both. What our sales tax collections are based upon, I think it's a number of factors. I mean, part of it's inflation. I think inflation is a smaller part of it. We're up almost 25% year over year. So we know that that's not inflationary, in its entirety. There's some portion of that's comprised of inflation. But I do think that some of it's buy local. Remember too, with online sales, that still gets credited back to the locale of the purchaser. So, we've seen a huge increase in online sales. I know that that's not necessarily good for our local businesses if they're not the ones who are selling, but the local economy does see that money come back in through sales tax collections.
So in purchase on Amazon, we see the sales tax?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I mean, indirectly, right? I mean, we don't see the all of that. We don't see that data down to that level, but yeah, they would have to file New York State sales tax, remit their sales tax to New York State. Then New York State divvies it up based upon the locale of, the purchaser, and, we would get our share from the county. All of our sales tax comes through the county, who collects it once again from New York State, right? So New York State collects the whole piece. They remit the local piece to the county, the counties, or any of the sales tax jurisdictions that actually have the ability to levy a sales tax or do levy a sales tax. In our case, it's the county, and then the county allocates it according to the county sales tax agreement. The 11.5% to the city, 3% to the villages and towns, and then the balance is remaining with the county.
Thank you.
Sure.
And John, I guess I don't know if it's a question or a comment to you, but I think it goes along with what you're saying. Have we noticed anything in the way we are ordering our supplies because of gas? I know where I work, the costs on shipping has really increased to the point where we're ordering a lot of things because we can get it like one shipment instead of 5 or 6 different shipments of things. They come all together. So we're stockpiling things at the store just to save on the shipping costs. You think the gas might that be driving the online sales locally rather than people going out and driving around?
The gas prices, like in terms of sales tax, it's tough to say what's driving every individual consumer. Kind of looking at my own personal spending habits, it seems that, during COVID, people who were uncomfortable with using online sales in the past became comfortable. And sometimes, those habits stick around. So, that could be part of it. I mean, certainly we're seeing the fuel prices and, on the cost side, I mean, some of the inflation, Ed could probably speak to his budget. You're certainly feeling the impacts of inflation through fuel prices, commodity prices. I mean, certainly material prices are going up. So, right now, I think the departments have done a good job on the spending side, staying within budget, but there's certainly more pressure due to the rising prices, all around. I mean, you're seeing some of the highest, cost of living increases in terms of the, inflation, right? The COI in terms of, in a couple decades right now. The last time I looked, it was hovering around 5%. I mean, that's, pretty significant. So, but, certainly, I mean, and you've heard too on the capital projects, you've heard from our engineer, you've heard from other individuals who are running projects about, we're going out to bid, and then, the estimates are coming back significantly higher than what we projected because of, this inflationary period that we're in with the cost of materials and labor prices. So, hopefully that settles down, but, it doesn't appear to be doing anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not. Okay. Any questions for John? Tony? Unmute, Tony.
John, can you just compare contingency, what it is now and to what it was at this time last year?
Well, it's almost evaporated right now, Tony. There was under $10,000. I have the last item on the agenda is to put $150,000 back in. We are at, well, it's on the report here. We're at 9,677 prior to replenishing any contingency.
Is that comparable to what it was last year, or is that?
I would imagine it. I would imagine it's lower, but it's not indicative of a lower fund balance. Just because if you look at our numbers, clearly the revenue's tracking well above budget, right? So I just wanted you to take everything in perspective. Yeah, we're using a little more of the contingency, but it doesn't necessarily mean when we close the books, we're going to be in a red because of that. You have sales tax that's currently 2.7 over budget. But keep in mind, I mean, some of the pulls from contingency, some of these are planned intentionally. When we're pulling money out for retirement accumulations and such. So, but I'll try to pull up where we were at last year.
You can just send it to me later unless you need it.
Yeah, sure.
Unless everybody else wants to hear it.
Yeah. Just to give you an idea, Tony, last year we finished with $282,000 in contingency. We started with $1,070,000. This year we started with $855,000. So we started with about $215,000 more in contingency last year.
So last year was that 287.
Yeah, we finished with 282. We started with 1,070,000. Maybe a better way to look at it is this. Last year, at the end of the year, we had pulled out 787 out of contingency. This year, we've pulled out 845. Probably a better way to look at how much we've drawn from rather than what the balance is.
All righty, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, John, I appreciate your updates. Doing a good job keeping us afloat. So everything sounds, reasonably well, better than we might have expected last year at this time. So we thank you.
You're welcome. And I think you see the impact of some of that, when you start digesting the 2022 budget, you'll see the use of fund balance. It's a larger number than what we've been able to use in the past. So we're able to use some of that surplus to help, otherwise buy down the tax rate. So if the finances weren't as strong, you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's, one of the positives.
Okay. Anyone else for John?
Thank you, John.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
I'm here.
All right. Now we're back to Ed. You ready, Ed? Ready, Ed. All right. Budget transfer for city bus.
Yep. Okay, John. I said, John, I see you going away. Don't go too far. So this was a fee from city bus, accumulated by city bus, which was issued by New York State Department of Motor Vehicles or Transportation Board in regard to the buses prior to them leaving the city of Kingston and going to the county. There were some last minute fees that were not accounted for. Just trying to get this thing ended and cleaned up once and for all.
All right.
So John, with the advice of John, we went to contingency to cover the cost of this.
Okay. Any questions for Ed? Okay, any questions about the fees or what they're for? Okay, Tony?
I have one question, Ed or John. Is this going to be an ongoing, or is this, boom, the city bus? And this is not an ongoing fee, is it? This is one time?
No, as far as I know, it's just a one-time thing that, again, it was remainders of what our obligations were at the time before city bus went to the county. John, if you have any more input on this, feel free.
Clicking wrong buttons here. So yeah, Tony, it was a fine. The city was hit with. The only thing I would say, it shouldn't be a recurring thing. The city has an ongoing obligation for with DMV, right, Ed? With the 19A, is that I don't. This is out of my germane here, but because we do have passenger vehicles that carry 12 or more passengers, we still have an ongoing obligation with New York State DMV for certifications with them. So, there's still a program. It's obviously much different from what it was when we had a city bus program, but we still have obligations. I mean, hopefully we don't incur any more fines or fees. But this by itself was a one shot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Questions for Ed? Okay, so the committee report reads $8,500 from A 1199,014.5404 contingency to 8,500 to A 1563014.5472 city bus contracted services to cover DOT fee. Financial impact is the $8,500. Do I have a motion? Motion, Michelle, second, Don. All in favor? Anyone not in favor? Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Ed.
Okay, I'm going to stick around a little bit because I think Don Tollerman wants me to come back to.
I was
speak
going
about
to
a
ask
couple
if you
more
were
things.
hanging. Yeah, I was going to ask if you were hanging for that, but that's up next. So you don't have to wait too long. All right.
Okay, well, I'll be here. Just give me a shout when you need me.
Okay. All right. So that does indeed move us to item number 4. And that brings us to Alderman Tollerman, who wants to speak about the Pike Plan. So,
Okay,
jump in there, Don.
thanks, Steve. All right, so the Pike Plan is something that I think everybody is familiar with. The canopy around Uptown Kingston, fair, mostly on Wall Street North Front. And over the years, there has been a lot of conversation about whether the city should keep it and maintain it or do a better job of maintaining it, or tear it down and fix all the facades of the buildings. And there's been sort of a lack of action either way. A survey was done a couple of years ago that showed majority of residents like it, and a majority of businesses don't. But it's not clear, it's not like even if most businesses don't like it, but plenty of businesses do. So on balance, the thing is there. It's a very visible part of our city's, legacy. And so I think that by and large, people want to keep it. And so, as you all may also know, there's been ongoing issues with the quality of it, the safety of it, because it was rehabbed about 9 years ago, and was a very bad job was done. So there are many problematic sections, such as what was recently fixed over at Boydson's, Maria's building there. It took us a long time to fix, but there's other major problems with the canopy throughout it. and it's hard to know precisely all of the problems until you peel back the metal or the wood and see what the damage is underneath. So what I'm proposing is that the city finally sort of step up and say, yes, this is a signature asset of the city. We are going to fix it, fix it all up, and then make it sparkle. You know, let's come up with a budget to what it takes to make it to bring it to a good state of repair, and then, you know, let's have a good annual budget that allows us to paint it regularly, clean it regularly, you know, pay for the electricity, all of that. So I met with Ed Norman and John Schulteis numerous times to try to come to what in their best estimate what would be a good budget. Two different budgets. One is a one-time initial fix it up and make it safe and sound, and number two, maintaining it year after year. So the number that we came up with, or that they came up with, was $1 million to repair it. And this is based on what was spent to fix the area by Boydson's. And will that fix everything? Probably not everything, but a good portion of it. And reason I'm requesting 1.15 million. The extra 150,000 would be for design and engineering that would be required in advance of construction. And then to maintain it well and make it shine, we, you know, sat with Ed and came up with, you know, we need a carpenter and a helper, not full time, of course, but you know, it definitely is a staff item for DPW. And the number we came to there was 130,000. And just for comparison, the budget has been about 4,000 in total. That's all, and I think the mayor has put in this year for $8,000 or $10,000. So you know, that's just not going to do it. That's not going to fix it. That's not going to maintain it. And I'm just suggesting we step up and say, "Yep, we're proud of this. This is ours. Let's make it great," and the signature part of the city. So Ed is here and John is here, just to add. John, well, I don't care who goes first, John or Ed. I took John, do we have a before and after pictures to share with the section by Boydson's?
Yeah, good evening. I mean, I can share a screen and we can go through photos if that's what's desired at this time.
Well, let's have a conversation first. You know, what you want to just share your professional opinion about the current state and why we need such a big chunk of money to bring it to a more dependable and reliable state of repair?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak a little bit about that. In you know, when we undertook to do the replacement that was done, it was an early COVID project. You know, we concluded that section really at 43 to 45 North Front Street had to be replaced in its entirety, and there were, you know, actual structural safety concerns there, you know, that motivated us. So other sections also have concerns, probably not to that extent, but there are certainly a lot of deferred maintenance areas where water has leaked, and you know, there's ongoing deterioration occurring. So, you know, we can point to overstressed beams and things like that from a structural point of view need to be replaced and then properly maintained. We're aware of flashing and roof leak problems. You know, there is a long list, you know, as you know. So I agree, you know, that there's been discussion of keep it or take the whole thing down. If keep it is the decision, then additional effort needs to be made to, as you say, a two-step process. One, bring it up to a minimum standard, and then to maintain it.
John, since you said this, you know, a lot of this discussion was pre-COVID, so, you know, we've had probably a year and a half since the last conversation. Has anything come to light, you know, that was as serious as the Boyston section that, you know, or, you know, just, you know, I hesitate to say smaller things because, you know, everything's going to be expensive with something like this, but do you see anything of that magnitude that has happened in the past year and a half?
No. The only caution I'd add is that, you know, when, you know, if there was to be a significant problem, I might expect it to be as a result of a very strong windstorm or a very heavy snow load, something like that hasn't occurred, but, you know, could occur at any time. So on a day-to-day basis, no, it's not in a danger.
Okay. Michelle?
Thank you, Steve. Hi, John. Thank you. Are any of the buildings suffering any damage just because it's just from not that being the, you know, like a natural facade or?
Yes, I have heard of that over time. I don't hear, you know, Ed Norman maybe know more on the day-to-day basis where, you know, if there's a leak in our roof and it runs the wrong way, it can penetrate into the private building. You know, I know that that's occurred at some locations. Remedial measures have been taken, but I don't get involved in those to the extent that I think DPW does.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, how long ago was the survey? I know that was before I was in. I'm just curious.
There was around 2018. There was different levels of effort undertaken. Some of that, though, it was done. You have to understand the purpose it was done for. At the time, there was the city was attempting to prosecute a lawsuit against the previous contractor, I think, which ultimately was successful and did result in a financial recovery to the city. So that some of the reports that were done at that time were for the purpose of demonstrating that those repairs from the 2011-12 timeframe were faulty.
And then there was also a legal issue. Yes, believe the last time we spoke about this, right before the pandemic, we were weighing whether or not to take it down. And there was, I think, like some kind of DOT money or something that it was like a contractor. I don't know.
Right. The repairs started around 2011, 2012, had a federal aid component to them. And anytime you utilize federal funds on a capital project, the standard requirement is that you cannot remove that improvement for a period of 10 years. So that we're now at or near that 10-year period.
Okay. This is a huge investment, and if we can't maintain it, then that's, you know, concerning. And then there's also the question of, with the costs being so high right now, is it something that we really want to do right now? Is that, you know, the cost estimate much higher because of materials and? Like, would it be cheaper to wait a little, or, you know, so.
Well, no one has a crystal ball, but my opinion is costs almost never go down. They might hold steady or rise less rapidly. We know some of the volatility is a problem just by itself, in that contractors, when we ask them to bid on work, like let's say they're bidding today in November, they don't, that's they're using today's prices, but they may not actually purchase the material for 3 to 4 months from now. So it's a gamble, and they price that risk into their bids.
Right. I think I remember we were speaking, like, I'm not saying for or against, but just costs that at the time when we spoke about this last time, I think we were estimating $800,000 if it were to be removed. So now we're looking at a price that would be double that to fix it up, and then the ongoing maintenance. And then if we aren't able to afford the ongoing maintenance, that would be a concern.
All right, Don, let me ask you, you've obviously done a little more footwork on this, and probably talked to more people than most of us. So what do you think the store owners dislike about it? Is it just because of the problems with it, or would they rather see us go back to the old, awnings, that kind of stuff I grew up with? Every store had an awning on it, and it was kind of cool looking. So, what's your feeling? I know
Well, you've got business owners and building owners, often two different sets of people. The business owners don't like that it's hard to see the store from the street. The canopy kind of blocks the entrances, so the visibility is diminished. But on the other hand, of course, they like that their shoppers can shop in the rain and not, be out of the weather. So the building owners, they hate the fact that it's attached to the buildings, and the flashing fails and affects the interior of their buildings. So I think the building owners especially don't like it. And they're afraid that if we did take it down, that they would be responsible for repairing the facades. There's a lot of buildings that are a lot of stores and buildings that are under the Pike Plan. So that would be tremendous expense, for the city to take on to fix all those facades.
Yeah. Are you, I don't see anything in your plan here to pass anything along to the businesses, right? I mean, this would all be on us, right?
They didn't ask for it in the first place.
Well, I mean, part of my, I don't know, I really tread lightly. I mean, John Pike is, just such, world famous artist, and I hate to be critical, but, I really haven't been a big fan of this since it went up, and I was here when it went up and walking around up there. We have some really beautiful buildings that seem to get, a lot of the details of those old buildings get covered up, and again, I'm going to date myself here. I remember walking around when there were awnings. Every store had an awning, and it was such a really cool look. But awnings are going to get tattered and frayed, and can we guarantee that they're going to be replaced adequately and be looking good? I guess there's no matter which way you go, there's going to be questions and concerns and problems down the road. I think it just comes down to a matter of opinion and aesthetics there.
Well, it also comes down to the numbers, as Michelle was pointing out. What if we don't have the money to maintain it? What if things get tight and we don't have the 100,000, 130,000 to maintain it? That's a problem. And Steve, just for the record, I kind of agree. I would prefer, personally, that it not be there. And you're right, the buildings are beautiful, and I'd rather see the old canopies back, But to go down that path is such a huge battle. There are people that are emotionally attached to this thing that scream bloody murder, and that's a fight that will just, I don't know how to get around that. And so, to me, this is the better of the two. And I'm just saying, rather than kicking the can down the road year after year like we've been doing, let's make a commitment one way or the other, and I'm suggesting committing to this path, fixing it and keeping it nice.
Yeah, Michelle?
I agree with you on everything, Don, and I know that it is a really emotional and complicated issue. But I know that I made sure that I went uptown when Boydson's had their canopy down, and the building was just stunning. It looked amazing, and it's like a jewel. Like all the buildings have jewels on top, right? And we don't get to see them. And so I just really would be hesitant to move forward without a real cost benefit analysis weighing, the cost of keeping this, right, and pouring money and year after year into it, right? Good money after bad, when maybe ultimately the building owners don't want it, right? So what is the cost benefit of doing this versus what would it cost if we did invest in fixing those buildings once and for all, take it down? Could it be possibly cheaper?
What you're saying makes sense, Michelle. The benefit side, though, would be completely subjective. The benefit of taking it down versus keeping it up. Certainly the costs, we did look at the cost of taking it down, would be just over $1 million now. It'd be a little bit more expensive to take it down and then fix the facades, but then you don't have the ongoing maintenance fees. So it's really pretty much even, except the maintenance. I would also rather just not have that expense on the city. Honestly, I would rather not. But I don't know how you that battle. That's a huge battle, and in the meantime, it's just looking shabby, and there are leaks, and Ed can attest to. Maybe Ed, do you want to speak to some of the existing conditions and issues that you see?
Sure. Yeah. To follow up with Michelle's questions, there are leaks from time to time. We do get calls. We've been trying to be a little more proactive with some of the maintenance up there. Some of the stuff is as simple as cleaning out the gutters. We found that a lot of the apartments that are in those buildings get a lot of debris thrown out the windows or what have you, wind up in the gutters, clogging the gutters, letting the water back up into the buildings. So we've kind of put it on a revolving list of places to go to just kind of be proactive with the cleaning. But there are definitely spots in there that need attention, cosmetic and structural. We do try to keep a handle on that. As Don was saying, we need, if we're going to do this and move forward, that number that he's talking about, we have currently one carpenter in the city DPW full-time. He is spread pretty thin. And a lot of that work that would need to be done up there, even on a maintenance level, would require 2, maybe 3 people from time to time. So one carpenter is not going to fit the bill for, just being a realistic maintenance.
Ed, the mayor's budget proposes increasing your staff significantly. Does that include any carpenters?
No, that is solely, I believe, equipment operator, HMEO, MEO, and labor. But I don't really foresee us needing another carpenter. I really see us needing another, talented laborer, someone who can go out and work with the carpenter. But even at that, a full-time job is, with benefits, is going to be over $100,000 a year for whoever that may be. So
Which
that
is
$130,000 a year doesn't give us a lot of extra room for, money for the maintenance itself, for materials.
All right, so I think what I'm hearing Ed saying here is, no matter what we decide, even if we want to spruce this thing up and make it, into the Taj Mahal, we really can't, we don't have the manpower to do it. So.
Well, that's the maintenance budget, that's the 130K to do it.
Okay, so we would have to bring in some outside help for that, right? I mean, you don't have the manpower to take on a project like that, right, Ed?
Well, no, we're not building anything. We're just maintaining. So if there's areas, once, I think what Don's talking about is once this thing is rebuilt in total by others, outside contractors rebuild the Pike Plan, then it gets on a revolving yearly allowance of $130,000 or whatever it may be to support another staff member and materials, what have you, to actually maintain this thing.
Correct.
So, all right, so that part is feasible anyway. All right, well, I guess if there's any good news, it's that there is no part that is endangering anybody's life at this point. So I don't know. What do you want to do, Don? I know,
I want to make a motion to well, let Tony speak first.
First off, I had several questions. My hand's been up forever and everybody's going back and forth. I haven't been addressed at all. So I don't understand where we're going with this, and we got a motion before you even ask all the questions. First off, this is the alderman in this ward is who? Is it Don Tollerman? Or
It's Doug Coop. Doug
Coop. So I would think it would be fair to have Doug Coop's input on this, since this is his ward. Before we're going to move forward.
Doug has been involved in the conversations and has been totally apprised and knew, I asked his permission.
It's very I can't even think of the word that I've had my hand up forever here, going back and forth, and I haven't been recognized. And then we're going to go for a motion for something before you even hear from everybody. So I have several questions here. This is going to be 1.5 the repair, and then it's going to be 130,000 each year. That's after 10 years. That's another 1.3.
1.15 to repair.
Correct. What other local cities and towns around here have this Pike Plan? I don't see anything in Saugerty's Pike Plan. I don't see any New Paltz. I don't see any Woodstock. I don't see anything in Poughkeepsie, unless I'm wrong. So again, this might have been a great idea back then, way before my time, because I'm not that old. And this Pike person put this in here. As it was stated, the current business owners, many of them didn't even own the store when this Pike Plan was put in. So it originally started out that the business owners up there were going to take care of this. Now it seems like that's dissolved, and now it's going to be thrown on the city to repair this, to repair it, and to keep up the maintenance. If many business owners don't want this, why can't we go back? My thing is, why can't we go back to the way it was, where you just had a canopy or yawning over a particular business? It was also stated about historical buildings. Historical buildings, I don't hear any much people talking about the historical buildings being taken away that with this Pike Plan that was created. So if we took the Pike Plan down, these historical buildings will be seen from the streets, right? People will be able to know if a business is open without having to find parking, to then to go to see if the business open, because of this canopy is hiding if some of these stores are open enough. And the other thing I had was take down is 1.1 million, the keep up is 1.15, and then it's maintenance. This is going to be a huge undertaking by the city. All right. And so we got to find 1.5. Unless you guys can find grants or something that can fix this. This is a lot of money for the city to undertake, which many people in uptown, many business owners don't want. All right. And then you're talking about finding somebody else to go in. Thought we did that before. That's why we had the lawsuits, that we got a person to go in there to fix it and didn't fix it properly. And then we're in these litigations. So who's to say the next person comes in here is going to know how to do that, put the flags up and everything else to make sure that there's no running water or water running back into the businesses. So again, unless we can find grants or something like that, it's going to repair this. I'm on the side that we should be talking about taking this down, removing this Pike Plan and this yawning or whatever you want to call it, canopy, and then going back to how it was. Natural building, sun coming in, people being able to walk. Obviously, yes, all, it's great. Or people, when it's raining and snowing, it's called umbrellas. It's called umbrellas. It's nothing downtown. There's nothing in Midtown when people go shopping and walking around that covers them, and people still go and frequent those places. So that is my 2 cents. Thank you for listening.
Don?
So Tony, I'd like to hear from you because you've been around longer than I have. How do we go forward with this? I don't disagree with anything you just said, but there's been endless conversation that goes nowhere year after year after year.
That's correct. Year after year since I've been to council, it comes up once in a while when something up, and it's been talked about this and that. And I've always been inside that again. I don't know why we still think that we still need the Pike Plan up there.
That's fine. So I said I agree, right? So where
Yeah.
do we go? But where do we go from here? What do we do?
Let's try to find some funding or whatever. I would rather see it be brought down a one-time deal than to keep on putting money into it a year after year. Because when we repair it, we still have to contain maintenance every year. So this came up before when we had to fix that one side, and then it was talked about where we're going to go. And I believe I leaned on that side. That, in my opinion, I think that we need to start looking at what the cost is going to take this down. And that is
Or
my
even
opinion.
if it's $1.5 million or whatever, it's going to be cheaper long term than maintaining it year after year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to think of. And I mean, we took a survey with the residents and the business owners, and I believe it came out with more business owners that didn't want it, that residents wanted it.
Correct.
And the business owners are ones whose buildings were getting water back into it that at the time had to repair it. And
Correct.
so, I would fall on the side of the business owners that are up there. And if the majority, if I remember, we're talking about that it should be replaced or taken down, then that's what the side I'm going to lean on.
So, Steve or Tony or Michelle, who, I'm hearing that we're all agreeing here that this ongoing expense is a problem. And it's not really responsible for us to take on that huge, obligation. So then, how does it happen to take it down? Does the mayor need to champion this and put a communication in? Like, tell me what,
Well, my takeaway from the last time we discussed this before COVID was we're waiting for that grant money time to expire, right, to sunset, so that we could move forward if we wanted to. So I'm wondering how many of those buildings, the building owners, are now new since the last time the survey was done.
yeah, but you're saying ask them, right? But on the other hand, you're saying we can't afford that money regardless.
I'm
So,
not saying that. I'm saying that we really need to do a cost benefit analysis, that we need to get the input from the building owners, because I think we should see if they're the same building owners. Like, we might have new building owners since the last time we did a survey.
okay, but for argument's sake, let's just say it's 50-50. 50% want to keep it, 50% want to take it down. Then what?
And we have to have some kind of cost estimate for helping repair, right? That would be another piece
Yeah.
to analyze, and then come back and analyze. We just can't make a decision in one night. We have to sort of look at all the aspects of it.
I'm not looking for a decision. I'm looking for a path forward here instead of kicking it down the road. I'm not going to be in the council next year. And, I know that there's a lot of frustrated business owners and building owners uptown about it. And they say one way or the other, either take it down or own up and fix it up and make it nice, but do something, one or the other, and so.
I'm just curious, I know, like with the Dover Coal, are they reaching out or speaking to any of those buildings? Dover Coal, did this come up at all?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
So Steve, I guess we're just gonna table it and kick it down the road again. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, again, that's why it winds up this keep on getting kicked down the road. And it's that to say, 1.1 million or 1.15 million, give or take another 0.5. That's a lot of money either way. And that it's going to be more than 1.15 if we repair it because of the maintenance costs, the annual maintenance costs that's going to occur to keep this up. And so my thing is 1 million, it's going to be just to take it down. It's going to be a lot of money. Do we have to bond for that? Is there grant money out there of any type? That is what we need to see.
We have looked for grant money. According to Kristen Wilson at the time, there's not grant money for this type of thing.
There's no grant money for it. So then if there's no grant money, then I don't know. Do we put it to the people, to the city residents that, we're going to take what you're going to use $1.1 million to take this down?
Well, of course, Tony, if the residents want to keep it, say, okay, it's going to be a tax increase to pay for it.
Well, why don't we find out all of this information if we have to go to like a referendum or something next year, right? And let the voters decide.
Yeah, we can let the voters decide, correct.
Well, should we let the voters decide or the building owners?
Well, they're part of the, well, it doesn't, I don't know. Because the building owners are not part of it. I mean, originally, what I recall, when this Pike Plan was put in place, the business owners of Town Kingston Business Association was responsible for the maintenance of it. But then that dissolved, and now it looks like the city of Kingston.
That's true, but from my understanding, it was like really small, their
Correct.
contributions, yeah.
Correct. And so now city, and I don't know, I would, if we have to do a referendum, it's going to be one way or the other. But like you said, it's going to be a cost to doing that, right? It's going to be a cost if we maintain it, and we'd have to put it out there that taxes are going to be increased if we have to maintain it. I mean,
Right,
I just don't see.
So the referendum is, would you want to keep it? If so, would you be willing to pay X tax increase to pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that we would have to have more discussion about. And I mean, I would love to do it with the whole body and just set of four of us sitting and stand here, because there might be other ideals or whatever. But it sounds like that we have to go some way down that road, and we're either going to take it down and fund it, or we have to, state to the city residents that there might be, if we're going to keep it and maintain it, there's going to be a cost associated with that going forward.
So I think that's a good idea to have the whole council discuss it. But Steve, how do you do that?
Well, we can't, because we'd have to pass it forward even for the whole council to look at it. But it doesn't even seem like we have anything to pass forward.
How about a motion to do a referendum or a motion to do something?
Well, why don't we table it and look into what it could be to like create a committee or a commission or something like that would work on this, or a task force.
There was something called the Pike Plan Commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Don, I understand what you're saying. You like to see something done before your term's up. And again, I'm going into my fourth term here, and it's, and Steve's been here before me, and it just seems like it's brought up and then it's discussed like this discussion is, and then nothing's done. The maintenance is made on some areas, and then it keeps on going. And so, I mean, obviously it's not going to get done in the next 2 months or next month. And so we really do need to sit down and talk about this next year, and in regard to one way or the other. And I understand, and Don, I agree with you. We just can't keep on kicking the can down the road. We have to make a decision, and one way or the other. And, I'm just one person on the council. There might be the other 6 or 7 who are in favor of keeping this Pike Plan. And if that's the case, so be it. But then we have to have a discussion about what are we going to do.
Right.
So as many things down there, the city pays for it and just keeps on paying for it. And we take it down, one-time fee, we keep it up, the city just maintains it, or we keep it up and it's pushed off to the taxpayers and the expense of keeping it up. And so, and again,
Okay.
I mean, we've already had some kind of survey. I don't know exactly what it was done, and to the business owners and the people, residents.
The business, there's a very low participation rate on that survey. It was done quickly and not many people knew about it, so.
Well, again, some knew about it, some didn't. I mean, some business owners replied to it, the survey, and I can't recall how it was done, but I know it was some type of survey. I know a lot of residents who are maybe not business owners replied to it. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many people actually did it, but we could do
All
it.
right, I think a referendum is the way to go. And, it just needs to have someone either on the council or the mayor that's interested enough to push it ahead.
Hey, Don, is there still a Pike Commission?
No, it was dissolved a couple
No,
years
no.
ago.
That thing's
Okay.
gone. And then as Michelle stated, we got to make sure before we even go forward that we're past that 10-year. We can go say all this
past
is
that.
doing things. If we're not past that 10 years, and as John said, in regard to that federal money that we can't do anything for 10 years, it is null and void. If
No,
next year is not
Bryan-
10 years, if next year's not 10 years, then we can't do we couldn't do anything on it as well. Anyway, we have to
Kevin
make
Bryan
sure.
Kevin gave the green light that we're past it. I'll confirm that with him, but we're past it.
So again, this may be, I don't know, an ad hoc committee or something. I don't know how we pass it for here in finance without a dollar figure. How do we pass it for that? We're just going to have a referendum. I don't know. Referendum on what? I mean, again, we got to make sure we have all our, verbiage correctly, or T's, crossing the I's dotted. If we're going to try to push something out here, because it's going to go to the whole committee, they're going to be like, what is this all about?
Well, I think we have until next year, right? No referendums happen during an election, right? So that would be next November.
Well, my suggestion here is why don't we table this and we can get some information together about a referendum or just a public hearing or, having us discuss it further at.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Everybody good with that?
Thank you for trying to champion it, Don. I know it's frustrating. Get it done.
All right, Don, appreciate it. I mean, you've done a lot of work here. And we always come back to the same fork in the road. We've had this discussion for several years now.
Yeah.
And we always get to the point where, should we or shouldn't we? Should we do it? Should we pull the plug? It's a very tough decision. I mean, it has been here in Kingston for a long time, and it is it's a very recognizable thing, unfortunately for good or bad. But, we're really going to have to make a decision. But, since this is, going to be, several people are no longer going to be here, come the first of the year, it's probably not a good idea to, take any action on this. They're going to be the ones that are going to have to live with it. So is everybody good with tabling this?
Yep.
Yeah, let's just table it. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Thanks, Don. Appreciate all the time you spent. All right. So let's move on to item number 5. John, you still with us?
I am here.
All right. You're up. Henry
Right.
Street
So
Sewers.
thank you. This item is to do with Henry Street Sanitary Sewer Project. This is a project that has been needed for some time. If you've driven Henry Street at Furnace, you've probably felt the pothole of varying size. DPW has had a consistent effort and to repair and constantly fill a hole here over the period of the last 3 years at least, maybe longer. And so the council did approve some funding in 2018, but I'm here tonight to request what I believe is the remainder that's needed to repair the manhole, and we're going to repair about 400 feet of sanitary sewer piping each side of this manhole at Henry at Furnace. So this is a project we're putting out for bid. Currently, if the council approves the additional funding and the bids come in where we expect, we'll award this project early in 2022 with the idea that it'd be built early in the spring.
I'm sorry, John, what are you doing to the piping?
There's a 8-inch sanitary sewer needing replacement on Henry Street at Furnace. And
Just
it's
at the intersection, no more than that?
Well, the piping is about 200 feet in each direction, so 400 feet total.
And how deep is it?
That piping is about 8 to 10 feet deep.
So it's not the 20-foot deep pipe that.
Correct. We're not touching that as part of this. However, the manhole that's 20 feet deep, we are going to use some in situ lining and resin injection to repair the voids and cracks in the manhole itself down to depth. And so this is after studying it, including using a camera to study the manhole and the piping, this is the recommended repair. So with design and construction, it's in the $460,000 range. $100,000 was previously approved, and so the request tonight is for the $360,000 balance.
How long do you anticipate the roads to be closed?
The road will probably not be fully closed, but flagging and one-way operations would be in place probably for a matter of 4 to 6 weeks while this is being built.
And one last question, John, is this springtime, winter, summertime?
Yeah, because we are doing a streetscape, we have a planned streetscape on Henry. In advance of that, we're trying to fix any known defects in the infrastructure, and so we're trying to do this early next year so that streetscape can proceed, into the summer and maybe fall of next year.
Okay, anybody have any questions about this? Seems like this is not new stuff around Kingston. So any more questions for John? Okay, I have a committee report here. I'll read it. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the adoption of an additional bond ordinance for the sum of $360,000 for the Henry Street Sewer Project construction and construction inspection costs, and making a finding that the project is a type 2 action under state environmental quality review 6 New York Code Rules and Regulations, section 617.5 bracket C bracket 2, and authorizing the project. Man, that sounds pretty legal, doesn't it? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion? Tony, I can't see you. Michelle's making a motion. Don, second. Okay. All in favor? Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, 4-0. Okay.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, John, you're in.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Right.
Okay, number 6, budget transfer for Parks and Rec. Lindsay, you there?
Yes, and can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Great.
Go ahead. You want to explain what you're asking for here?
Yes, so we're asking for the request for council to accept 2 donations by Mr. Ron Woods. One is for our annual holiday party. Every year, Mr. Woods donates 4 bikes to be raffled off for the children from the Hodge Center and Rondout Center for a chance to win a brand new bike. It's always something that's looked forward to. I know Ron personally takes a lot of joy in making this donation. And so we want to request the council to accept the donation as well as approve the budget transfer into our account to be able to spend the money on the bikes. The other donation that Mr. Woods has made is to pay for a plaque to be placed at the Midtown Center to honor the late Kennedy Bryant. He was a rec commissioner for years. He's made a huge contribution to our department and community. And so the commission had voted to place a plaque up at the Midtown Center, just acknowledging him and thanking him for his service to the department and the community.
Okay. I'm not sure if we you kind of faded out there, Lindsay. So I'm presuming you're done. Does anybody have any questions for Lindsay about this? And this is
No questions.
pretty much,
It's a very generous donation. Thank you.
Yes, he's wonderful.
Let Ron Woods know that, and we thank him for his and continued contributions to the city of Kingston, especially the rec programs.
Absolutely, will do.
okay. So I have a committee report here and it reads, the Parks and Recreation Department would like to request for council to accept 2 donations by Ron Woods and the transfer of the funds from the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center contributions account to purchase bicycles for our children's after-school program holiday party and a plaque to honor the late Kenneth Bryant. Transfer $2,000 from account A17142-22-42705 to A1-7-7-142-145485. Okay. And actually, before I make a motion, when is the holiday party is the 17th, Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone is welcome to stop by and check it out.
Oh, please do.
Really, it's a great day for the kids. Lots of activities. They all get gifts. Besides the bicycle raffles and things like that. It's a great day. Santa Claus is there. There's food. It's really a big day. So everyone is invited. All right?
Absolutely.
So that being said, do I have a motion? Motion by Tony, second, Michelle. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay. All right, thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Okay,
Night.
okay. Item number 7, budget transfer. And the chief is here to let us know what he's looking for. Or are you letting Mike do the talking?
Oh, he's going to do some talking. No worries, Steve. He's
All right,
he's on top of it.
all right, go ahead.
So we're looking for budget modifications. The majority of them are all internal. We're moving money from general pay. As you know, we're currently trying to restaff, bring up the budget at 74. We just hired a bunch of candidates, so there is some money there that we are moving over. You'll see the account. About 50,000 of it goes into overtime pay. A substantial amount of 82,000 goes into retirement accumulation. As you know, we've had a number of retirements, resignations. The one down below, you'll see in the line in the budget modification list, 2 or 3 motor vehicles, 75,000. Has also got an accompanying revenue line, the 2776. That 75,000 is a wash. That's the 75,000 that will be coming from the town of Ulster for the Lenco Bearcat. The initial modification that we had requested only included 100,000 of the grant and not the additional 75 that Ulster would be doing. So in order to make the accounts work for the purchase order, we're asking council to approve a zero impact transfer from revenue into expenditure. So moving on, office supplies, 2,000, miscellaneous. The office supplies, a lot of those are replacement chairs. The majority of those are the chairs at our dispatch and our patrol division. Miscellaneous, the 6,000 is the account that we used for both the gun buyback program that we conducted and our special investigations unit. And both of them were and still are very successful. So, but the 6,000 is required. And again, we're moving it internally. The vehicle maintenance, $30,000 item for the budget modification. So the vehicles, we're still waiting on some of them that we ordered early in the year, causing us to invest some materials, parts, and labor into fixing up the old ones. That was never the plan. So that's part of it. Part of it is parts have gone up. You're all aware that chips and electronics and all those things related to vehicles is difficult. We're also included in that. So the police department unfortunately has to make a transfer for that. Dues, seminars, associate fee of 1,000. We are slightly over budget on that. We've sent a lot of people to play catch up in our training programs. When COVID hit in 20, we essentially shut down all training, and we're just trying now to catch up on that. And then on the 473, the last line, the equipment rental of $10,000, we've seen increases in a lot of the maintenance costs related to the electronics that we have, specifically the WatchGuard camera systems. And those are the old ones that we still have in the vehicles for the mobile dash cams. This current budget is going to include replacements into the new Axon.
Yeah, any questions for the chief or Mike? Okay. All right. Sounds pretty straightforward. Committee report reads budget transfer for the 2021 budget. This is a request for a transfer from our revenue, other reimbursements accounts to our motor vehicle accounts for funds received from the town of Ulster toward the purchase of a shared rescue vehicle. Additionally, there are internal transfers from our general pay account to several of our equipment and maintenance accounts. Financial impact is zero on this. Okay, do I have a motion? Michelle?
Actually, I just wanted to, on the question, just say something first. So,
Okay,
I will be a yes vote because this is all bundled together, because I would never vote no on retirement or anything for our officers, but had the transfer of the armored vehicle been separate, I would be no on that, but I will be a yes vote on this whole thing. Thank you.
all right. Who's, Don, did you second that or Tony? Don, okay. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous. Okay. Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, Chief, don't go far. You're up again. All right. Item number 8, reimbursement for retirement payout.
Steve, that one should be pulled.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah? Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yep, yeah, that should be pulled.
All right, all right. I think you are done, Chief.
Excellent. Have a great
All right.
night. Thank you very much.
You always like to hear that, right?
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So move on to item number 9 is the proposed fee schedule submitted by the mayor. I mean, several pages long. And we don't have to take any action. do we take any action, or is this just for our review, Mayor?
Yes, officially, we need to submit it as a communication for you to include as part of the budget process. But
Right.
yep, it's just kind of, it's reviewed along the way as you meet with all the different department heads. And then at some point before you vote on the budget to adopt the fee schedule. But nope, I just wanted to make sure you had it.
Okay, great. We appreciate that. Anything drastic in here we should be aware of?
Most of the fee changes were in the areas of the building department, related to short-term rentals to incorporate some of the work that you guys have already started. There's a couple of other minor changes in some of the departments, but we didn't really see any, we didn't do any major fee updates this year.
Okay. All right, great. So I'm sure everybody will take this with them to bed tonight and go over these things for a couple hours before they hit the sack. All right. Thanks for putting this together, Mayor.
Steve, I might recommend just to table it, to officially table it.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll just table it. We will be discussing it at the budget meetings, right? So, all right. So officially we are tabling this. So it'll still be up for discussion. All right, thanks, John. Okay, moving on to number 10. The mayor is up again. You want to walk us through this?
Yes, and so I am joined tonight also by Kevin O'Connor from Repco, as well as his staff, and Kevin Corte is also going to be joining us. Him and I just finished up the zoning meeting upstairs in Common Council chambers. But generally speaking, there's a couple of things I want to just start with. First is that I'm really happy to be able to report on the great work that the Kingston City Land Bank is doing. With our first 3 property transactions that we did with them, there's going to be new families moving into those properties very soon. And so we're excited to see that work. We've recognized through that process that this is a very time-consuming work. It's very expensive work. And that there's a lot of work we have had over the years. Unfortunately, a large number of tax foreclosed properties that have come our way. So in discussions with Repco and the Kingston City Land Bank and our housing director, Kevin Corte, we've come to what I believe is a really good plan and partnership to be able to launch with Repco, to be able to take a total of 10 properties that are and have been tax foreclosed properties, to be able to partner with Repco, who have, I believe, the resources and experience to be able to take this, critical time that we're in right now with housing, and to be able to get these 10 properties in partnership with us redeveloped and inhabited as quickly as we can, to be able to target, that single family homeowner, first time homeowner that is 100% AMI or less. And I can let Kevin talk a little bit about it if it's okay with the committee, just to kind of talk a little bit about Repco's background and why they're interested in partnering with this on this effort, and really why this is just so important at this critical juncture.
Happy to, if that's okay with the committee. So thanks, Mayor. At Repco, we have helped well over 1,000 first-time home buyers in Ulster County alone over the years through our home ownership center. Home ownership has always been an important part of the housing tenure and mix in communities, and oftentimes sometimes in some of our river cities that go up and down the Hudson River, we have home ownership rates that fall far too low. I started doing zombie properties way back when for Hudson River Housing in Poughkeepsie when IBM first downsized in Poughkeepsie. In recent decades, we've not really had a subsidy to help us. Today to really redo well some of the zombie properties and to remove some of the hazards, to really gut them and come back with an energy package and a really efficient model, and can cost well over $300,000. And the affordable housing market is, depending on whom we're trying to serve, what percentage of area median can generally afford far less. The good news is that there are increasing subsidies coming to the table. So starting back in the spring, we're working with an entity, and they haven't quite announced yet. It's we've had discussions with the Novo Foundation and may continue those discussions, but it's a different outfit other than Novo, who has pledged a significant amount of money to us to help us to redo these 7 properties. There are some state resources as well, and more state resources to follow. And even an alleged federal tax credit for home ownership with bipartisan support is proposed. So we're optimistic, but we do have some real dollars to help us to do these 7. So part of the these 10, the 3 restore properties are coming with a little bit of restore and some other dollars, and then the other 7. So the goal is to repurpose these in a significant way and to sell them to first-time home buyers. There may be a few restrictions coming with some of the money that we're bringing in terms of how long they need to remain affordable. They have to be owner occupied, and the income targeting. But we think we're going to be able to reach folks at perhaps 80% of the area median and even 60% of the area median, even on a majority of this first houses. Noe Del Cid, a former board member at REPCO, has been hired to really lead the redevelopment. Along with Bill Anderson, we've created a subsidiary B corporation known as the Home Squad to manage our construction management. We'll be hiring all local contractors to do the work, but we will be managing the construction. We're very happy to have partnered with the Land Bank recently. We have, I think, brought 3 of the home buyers for their first 3 properties, provided education, helped them acquire mortgages, and we're making significant grant for down payment and closing costs to each of the 3 purchasers through, I believe, our countywide home program. So we'll be able to do the same here again with marketing, providing some education, hopefully a little bit of down payment money to help people get in. But we're thrilled that there's finally some subsidy to help us balance out some of the work that we're doing, in addition to some of the rental housing, to be able to provide home ownership. And we think that the highest and best use clearly for what were originally built as single family homes, whether they're 1 to 4, were almost in all cases originally home ownership. To be able to return them to home ownership is a good thing. So we're excited about the possibility and happy to answer any questions.
One thing I'll add before we jump into questions, is that just from a financial perspective, what REPCO, through the resources that they've gathered, they're able to provide the city of Kingston with the back taxes owed on each of these properties. And as you'll see from the attachments that we sent, again, we did have some math errors. We did update them tonight, but there's some substantial taxes owed on a variety of these properties. And I do want to say that, so there's a net gain to the city for us to be able to kind of replenish, our kind of tax foreclosure account there, that we've put out a lot of money to the school district and to the county to make all of those entities whole. So this would be a positive, opportunity for us, I believe, as well, from a financial perspective. And again, most importantly, though, we'll be getting people, back into these homes. And again, many of them have sat vacant through a variety of title issues and bankruptcy issues and the city tax foreclosure process. Some of these have not had families in them for, sometimes more than a decade for some of these homes. And so they've really just been a a blight on the neighborhood. And so if you have one of these houses next to you, you've really suffered. And I think we're really excited to be able to kind of turn these around and kind of do this in partnership with Repco. It would be I think a benefit to the city. And so that's all I think I have. And so definitely ready to take any questions that folks may have when you're ready.
Don?
All right, thanks, Mayor and Kevin. That's great stuff. There's so many zombie houses here, and so a couple of questions. First of all, to my understanding, there are 100, just around 100 actual houses that we discovered. Is that right? And of these 10, I know that they're notoriously difficult to track down ownership and of liens against them and all that. Are these 10 of the 100?
Yeah, so when we did our vacant and a zombie housing study in 2019, we identified about 100 properties in the city that were either vacant, underutilized, zombie properties. We have, with the city and the work that the land bank is doing, and about 20 total of those, about give or take 2022, have been were off that list, are kind of tax foreclosed. The rest of the other 80 plus are still caught in that crazy mortgage foreclosure world, that are still in private hands, that banks are still paying taxes on the properties, but yet are still sitting there vacant. And unfortunately, those are harder nuts to crack, where these are properties that we've taken because people didn't pay their taxes. There are more, many more that are out there that we identified, but that are having their taxes paid, but are still and have been still sitting vacant because of some of these mortgage companies that just carry them on their balance sheets and are not community minded. We're hoping that will change with the real estate market, but we're still seeing them out there, and we haven't done an update since 2019. So we're hopeful that number is a little bit less. But again, some of the same problem houses are still in our neighborhoods.
Kevin, in your experience, is there a way to convince banks and mortgage companies? I know it's confusing. How do we turn over those other zombie houses?
I'll just say that, coming through the foreclosure debacle back in 2010 through today, it's been difficult. Many of the mortgages were packaged and sold off. It gets so deep and dark sometimes, it's very hard to unearth. And not having had the subsidy, even if I was to pursue it and was successful to buy something for, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 from a bank, I never had the subsidy dollars to turn it around, to do it in a way that was a significant and complete rehab. So now that we are starting to see the potential for real dollars to start to arrive for home ownership, I think that we will certainly be interested in pursuing better and ways to contact banks and to unearth some of these properties. Haven't done a lot of it as of late because of the lack of subsidy. With the subsidy coming, we will be interested at Repco in doing more of that work.
And I should also be thanking Novo. Is the subsidy that you're referring to partially Novo, partially state, partially federal?
We are in discussion with Novo, but we currently have a different source that we're talking with, and hopefully able to announce soon. Novo certainly expressed additional interest as well, but and then there are state resources that we're looking at, and of course, then we start with mortgages, as in round numbers, we see families at 60% of the AMI being able to afford a $100,000 mortgage. On average, it depends on the family size. People at 80% and closer to 200,000. And there might be some opportunities for us to sell homes to people even at 100% of the area median income as we go down this pathway. And today, area median income, which is countywide, of course, can't afford a $300,000 mortgage. So we start with mortgages as the dollar amounts, and then we add some of the other sources to the table. And we're looking to do, in general, often with the zombie, a full gut renovation, so that we can bring back an energy efficient package, remove all hazards, and really bring back a great home ownership model that's going to set people, without having to worry about roofs or mechanical systems or other failures early on in home ownership.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Mayor, I just have one, out of curiosity, I'm looking at the list, and sometimes I like to ride around and look at these things. This 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, is that Newkirk Avenue that we both know and love, or is there really a Newkirk Street in Kingston?
I believe that is actually Newkirk that we know and love downtown. Yeah, there's just one, but it's actually the part of Newkirk that is not on the hill, that actually is the former street bed that used to cut across 9W on that little section there. So,
okay, very good. Okay, anybody have any questions for Kevin or the mayor? Michelle? Unmute, Michelle. There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Steve. Thank you, Mayor Noble. This is great. This makes me happy. It's happy that we can get our tax money back, get these houses, to community members and families, and stabilize our neighborhoods as well. Kevin, how long do you think it will take once the funding is secured and for construction, and until the houses are ready for move-in?
Yeah, great question, Michelle. Hopefully, probably about a year to do. And the season really sometimes start around March 1st is a great time to really, be able to hit the ground running after some of the snow flies. But we might be able to start a little bit earlier than that. But to do 10 homes, it's a bit of a fair undertaking. And in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've had some real challenges in construction with supply chain issues and a little bit of lack of labor and some very, 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 very busy contractors. So there are some challenges in construction, and apart from the cost variations that have occurred as well. So, but in general, I would think that we're hopeful that a year construction schedule should be ample time to get through 10 homes.
Great, thank you.
Shorter time than it takes us to decide on the Pike Plan, I hope. Okay, anybody have any further questions? Tony?
Steve, I didn't hear too well, or Kevin, how much is this? How much is the total on the back taxes? Because I know that we got some new homes, some were removed from this list that we got earlier today, and some were added on.
Yeah. And John, too, you can confirm for me, but I believe the final amount in the committee report tonight, total and back taxes, I believe, is $472,018.63. John, did I get that right?
Committee report says 444, 456.
Yeah, Steve, we sent out a new updated one this evening around 5:30 or so, 6:30, because we had.
I don't have that. So what's the corrected amount?
472,018.63. Do you want me to read it to you, Steve?
I had this one
go
other
ahead.
question.
Okay.
The other question is, and this part of this whole thing is that who's paying it back? Who's covering these back taxes? And that's what I missed. Is that going to be absorbed into the price, or I missed that part?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So as part of this partnership with Repco, Repco would be at the closing for the individual properties as we move through this process. They would be reimbursing the city for the back taxes on those individual properties. And you'll see on the list, just to make it clear to everybody, there's one that pops out at 100 and just over 130,000 or around that 130,000 mark. That's one where the City of Kingston Community Development Organization did a few years ago a rehab. We spent about $100,000 on that rehab. With the council's blessing, we put that house out for bid with Repco to find a first-time home buyer. We found that first-time home buyer, but the home buyer, unfortunately, because of a financial situation in their family, backed out at the closing. And so with that, we're again putting it back out there for the 130,000-ish. And then HUD requires that those proceeds from how much HUD invested goes back into our fund so that we could reinvest back into additional housing programs. And so Repco will be, as part of the sale of that property, right, they'll be able to repay that funds and then be able to make up for the back taxes that were owed, which are in that $28,000 range. So that's why that one's a big outlier on that bunch. But yes, they're prepared to pay the back taxes on all of the properties that we've included.
I just want to say kudos to this combination of, well, I don't think that's the correct word, this partnership between Repco and the City of Kingston in regard to getting these vacant homes back on the market for these single families, to first-time homeowners to be able to see their dreams come true and have home ownership. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions, comments? All right. John, are you going to read the whole committee report?
I'll read the committee report. This would be, you'll have an email, Steve, with this, but
Okay.
the language changed, I think, from the original one, and then the dollar amounts have changed. So
right.
Here goes. Provide the mayor authorization to transfer any or all of the 10 tax foreclosed properties on the attached list totaling 472,018.63 to Repco to facilitate the sale of these homes to new homeowners in the City of Kingston. These properties will be sold by Repco at AMI levels below 100% to first-time home buyers. The total amount that the City of Kingston will receive from Repco upon the transfer of each individual property is included on the attached list. And the annexed list has a total list of 10 properties. The total amount is 472,018.63.
Okay, thanks, John. We have a motion on that. Tony, motion, second by Michelle. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous. All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks all. Thanks for your service.
All right, Mayor, don't go too far.
I've got one more, right?
We got one more. Okay. Number 11 on our list. This is the Lindsay Tibbrook's salary that we have to take some action on. So go ahead. You want to explain it?
Sure. Just briefly, as we know, back in 2020, we after the departure of our previous Parks and Recreation director, I attempted to provide the maintenance responsibilities of our parks to the Department of Public Works, and have our recreation director just focus on recreational programs. During the 2020 pandemic, that process, worked well. Our maintenance department was able to get a lot done in partnership with DPW, and we had a very successful year. Fast forward to us coming out of the pandemic, and this past spring season starting, which is the very busy time for Parks and Recreation. I recognized, as did the leadership at DPW and Parks and Recreation, that having that disconnect between kind of public works and the recreation activities and the needs of our recreation activities, really far exceeded anyone's expectations. And for me, made sense at that moment and still does to have kind of the maintenance responsibilities get put back on under the director of Parks and Recreation, and to have that position be in management of the maintenance of the parks. And so in doing that this past April, which then I set that salary back to the original salary of the former Parks and Recreation director. And so in doing so, we do need a budget amendment, which we can cover internally in the department. So there's no financial impact to the city, but it does kind of bring things back into line and, with the budget. So that's our request this evening.
Okay, any questions for the mayor? Okay, I see not. So let me read this committee report. As a result in a change or assigned responsibilities and salary adjustment.
Steve,
Oh,
I had a
Tony.
question.
Sorry.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Mayor, and just one question, Mayor. So the salary is the same as the previous rec leader salary?
The previous director, yes. So
Previous
basically,
director?
yep. $68,000, give or take. Yep.
All righty. And so there's no steps or anything like that. That is what that previous director, that was his salary when he left.
Yes. Yep.
And so it was no steps or anything in there. It was just.
No, with management, we don't have that step system with management, and so yeah.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Good question, Tony. All right, so let me start again with this. As a result in a change or assigned responsibilities and salary adjustment, the mayor's office is requesting a $0 impact internal budget transfer to reconcile Parks and Recreation's regular pay and Social Security amounts, transferring $14,000 from A1-7142-11-5101 to A1-7020-11-501. That's for pay. And for Social Security, transferring $1,071 from account A1-7142-11-5811 to A1-7020-11-5811. Again, the financial impact is $0. Do I have a motion on that? Michelle? Second? Tony? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, passed unanimously. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the night. Okay.
All right, you too.
Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Corte. Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to know if we skipped over 10 or if you had already addressed 10. I'm here to answer questions, but also here at the rezoning meeting.
Actually, we went through that. We already voted on that and passed through already. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin? I think you're good, Kevin.
Sounds like a no. And sorry, what was the vote on that?
Unanimous.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. Have a great evening, everyone.
All right, you too. Okay, Don Tollerman taking center stage again. You ready? All right, number 12, City Hall restoration. Am I taking you by surprise with this?
Hello, thanks, Steve. No, as you guys know, the city is having a centennial and a half, 150 years of City Hall next year. And that's why the tower is being redone, repointed. And, I've attended many meetings there, and just noticed that the interior is in need of refurbishment. And that this seems like the right occasion and right time to create, everybody deserves to like where they work and feel good about where they work. And I've just observed that the furniture is often ragged and the carpet is old, and just needs every 20-year refreshment. It's been 21 years, and because of our celebration next year, seemed like a good time to put that forward. That's it. That's the proposal. We did get, we had a couple of vendors come in. One gave the proposal. And I'm not trying to push one vendor over another. It's really up, Brian Waltman in purchasing. He may want to bring in some other vendors. These people, as part of their commission, they give you design suggestions on what furniture to buy and different pricing options, paint colors, carpet patterns. And I just think it'll be a real refreshing place to work for all the people that spend more of their time there than they do with their families. So that's the idea.
Okay. Well, Don, you got some really ambitious projects going on here, don't you? Tony?
It did, Don. It's great that you started this, and that as we received communication from Elisa Tenti, who's the city clerk, she's going to be discussing this in her budget, and when we have budget meetings, and she's the one that's in charge of City Hall, and so we should be hearing this from Elisa Tenti in regard to how how City Hall is going to look forward to, and we should give her the opportunity to speak about this at the budget meeting. And I see, and that's taking any from you, but it's nothing that we can do here. Obviously, we have to hear what she's going to propose. We have to send it out for RFPs, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody got that earlier communication, that she stated that this will be discussed during my budget meeting, which is scheduled for November the 22nd.
Right. So Tony, I'm not, process is not my strong suit. So, I don't really care what the best process is, but I do want you and everyone to know that Elisa was, this was discussed with her, over the last couple of months. She's been very aware of it. The mayor suggested that this was the best process to bring this to committee. So, I don't know why he thought that this was a good way to go. So again, City Hall process is not my thing. I don't know. Steve, Michelle, maybe you've got some insight why this would make sense to bring this to committee rather than wait for Lisa to bring it to, to her budget meeting.
Okay. So, I was presuming this was just kind of informational on your part, right? We're not going to be taking any action tonight on this.
Right. I don't think so. I think it's to make everybody aware. Maybe that is the point. That's why I did send it to the council, make sure everybody has seen it. I don't know if Elisa has an annual budget, right? And so this would be wildly beyond her normal budget. Maybe John Tui, can you chime in here? Is this something that she can just propose during her budget conversation and then it would be taken up at that time?
This could also be included in the capital plan. Just like all the other departments, extra things, this could be in her. And again, that's why, we should afford her the opportunity to speak on this when she presents her budget. But that's my 2 cents.
You're muted, John.
That mute button gets me every time. So yeah, I think it certainly is something that can be discussed as part of the clerk's office, as part of their presentation on their budget. Certainly would want to just go over the scope of the project, talk about dollars, and determine whether or not this is something we'd want to include in the capital budget. It would be something I would presume that we would end up bonding for. But yeah, certainly that would be the appropriate place to include it, would be on the capital budget.
Okay.
Okay. Elisa,
Don wants to talk about his plan. I certainly don't want to dissuade him from doing that because he did the work on this. This was really Don's plan. So I don't want to make it appear that I don't want this discussion to take place tonight. Don is, of course, welcome to take the mayor's suggestion and discuss what his plan is.
All right. Thanks, Elisa. So, I don't care. I don't have an agenda, as to when this is done or the best, I don't want to step on any toes, but I just thought this was appropriate thing to do. So, why don't we just table it and, let this be part of Elisa's, budget meeting, as Tony was suggesting, and you're saying, John. I'll circle back to the mayor, to see if there's any other procedural considerations. But that's fine. I just want everybody to be aware of this. It's not a complicated item like the Pike Plan.
yeah. Tony,
And again, and Don, good with the was that again, if we even go forward with this, and again, as this was stated in earlier communications, we have to put it out for bid. And so it can come in higher, lower suggestions. So, we have to still go through the process of, having the discussion. And then if we do decide we're going to move forward, we have to put it out there for RFP, get prices, and then discuss it. And so, that's going to take some time right there. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I certainly didn't expect anything to happen this year on this, this is a next year item. But Tony, just point of Brian Waltman, for some reason suggested that there didn't need to be a RFP or bids on this. I don't know why. Again, I don't care, but he said that.
all right.
It's procurement. It's something about procurement. John?
All right, John, you can chime in there, John.
Oh,
John?
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, typically it would be bid. If it was something off of state contract or something like that, there might be an exception there.
That's John, that's right. That was the phrase, state contract.
Yeah. But Don, since, you have a lot of, you've done a lot of work on this, obviously, and you're familiar with what you're presenting. I think when we do get into conversation further, for it to be considered as part of the capital plan, certainly would want to have some, maybe a defined estimate. I know we have numbers here, but if we could have a defined estimate and a scope of work, then we can include some language in the capital plan for that. And then it would be something that could be talked about and potentially voted on by the council as part of the adoption of the entire 2022 capital budget.
All right, so John, maybe you and I can communicate later this week about that scope of work, because I thought that was in that attachment that's adequate. So let me know what's not adequate and we'll ask.
Yeah, I saw a number in the communication, Don. I just wasn't entirely sure if that, because it said subject to change, and I just didn't know how firm it was. So I'd be curious to see if you got numbers from anywhere else and what your range of numbers are. So we can touch base later in the week.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Don.
okay. Thanks, Don. We appreciate this. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's going to argue City Hall could use a little sprucing up and updating. So, we appreciate you put a lot of work in this. So I guess we will consider this tabled.
Sounds good.
All right. Anybody have any further questions? Okay. Thanks again, Don. Okay, we have, oh, Mr. Tui is up. Charges on tax bills.
Steve, this is, once again, this is re-levy onto the 2022 tax bills. This is a standard annual item. This is for the building department. Their unpaid charges as of their cutoff date for re-levy. I emailed you a copy of the committee report. I can read it to you if you'd like. The number is relatively similar to the prior year. Last year was $146,000 approximately. So you let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay, just pulling it up. Request authorization to re-levy unpaid invoices totaling $159,045 onto the city's 2022 tax bills, and that is property tax bills.
Okay, I will take a motion. Michelle, motion, second. Don, second. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous, John. You did it.
We have one more item, Steve?
One more.
Okay.
Budget transfer.
So the last item, I mentioned, referenced this earlier in my presentation. I've submitted a communication to do a small replenishment of the contingency balance for 2021. I'm hoping that will hold us off as we get through the year-end closeouts. And I moved money from retiree hospital medical, where we're seeing some savings, to the contingency. So no financial impact, at least. If anything, would be positive.
Okay. Actually, the committee report says positive $150,000 on it.
Yeah. I mean, we're putting money back into contingency here.
Right. So should it say 150 or 0?
I don't know if I have a preference, Steve. I mean, in the past, we probably have used the positive number 150, but just to
Sounds
indicate
better.
that we're putting money into contingency.
I mean, I would call it 0 impact, but
Yeah, technically, I'm not sure, Steve. I'm sorry.
all right. Well, your call. What do you think?
If you want to be conservative, you can put 0. I mean, it's fine. I think in the past, we probably have referenced the positive when we've replenished contingency, but I mean, just so we're clear what we're doing. At the end of the day,
I like that.
We're putting money back into contingency. It's not an actual savings here. We're just moving money from one underspent line to a line at where we need the money.
Right. I like the plus sign. Looks nice. So, all right, let's leave it as a plus. Somebody wants to take us to task, I guess we will, we can rechange it. All right, so the committee report reads, request approval of the attached 2021 budgetary transfer to replenish contingency, financial impact plus $150,000. I'll take a motion. Michelle. Second. Tony. All in favor? Tony, you good? I don't see you.
He gave a thumbs up.
You good?
Thumb was up, but if I second it, it means I'm assuming I'm in favor of it. Yeah, I
Right.
did put my thumb up.
I didn't see it. Your screen was black. I couldn't see you. All right. Unanimous. All right. Very good. All right. That brings us to the end here. I thank you all for your time. John, thanks for being here. Thanks for your guidance. Thanks for everyone's participation. Good conversations, a lot of input. Good job. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Thanks for caring, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Motion, we had a second? Somebody motion, second? Okay, second. All in favor? Okay, we're good. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Elisa.
Thanks, Elisa.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Night.
Have a good one.